Hi everyone and welcome back. Another drawing demo for you today. This is the scene. It's really nice, isn't it, this one? I left the geese or the ducks out, though I didn't bother putting those in. I kind of wish I had done, but anyway, a bit late now. I've got the grid lines on there ready to go. I'm really enjoying using the grid method at the minute. I just feel that my line drawings are a whole lot more accurate than what they were before, and it seems to take a lot of the pressure off of thinking about the initial line drawing in the first place. So it seems to be making life easier at the minute, so I'm kind of going with it. Okay, so the kit that I'm going to use today, quite a bit actually, 3HB pencils. Let's just move this out of the way. So we've got the woodless pencil, the standard number 2 pencil and a mechanical pencil, all in HB. So I can get fine detail with that one. I use that one just for the line drawing, and that one was scraped graphite powder. Other pencils, yep, there's quite a lot of them. 4H pencil, 2B pencil, a 4B pencil, mechanical pencil, and a 2H pencil and a pencil holder. A selection of blenders, 2 paper blenders, and a couple of cotton swabs, 3 erasers, Derwent pen eraser, the Tombow Mono Zero, I think it's 2.3mm eraser, very fine tip, and a Kohinoor pencil eraser. They all give me various line widths when I'm erasing with them. And of course, last but not least, the dust brush. Okay, so that's it, let's get started. Okay, so it's straight in with an HB pencil for the line drawing. I'd just like to quickly say as well, for the people that support me on Patreon, there's going to be 2 real-time videos for you posted today. One of the sky and one of the foliage, just a small section of it, but it's all going to be in real time without any edits, and a full explanation about what I'm actually doing. So if you're interested in becoming a Patreon and supporting me and this channel, if you pop along to my Patreon page, you'll see the rewards that I offer. There'll be reference photos for your drawings, other interesting photos as well, and there'll be real-time videos, tips and technique videos, explaining more in depth what I actually do. Yeah, so there'll be a link at the end of the video for you if you want to click on that and check my Patreon out. I'll be really grateful. Okay, so now the line drawing's completed, I'm just erasing out the grid marks that are in the sky, and I'm going in now with the woodless pencil, just scraping graphite powder nice and evenly over the paper, but I'm just lifting the pencil up just towards the left hand side there, just to get a lighter sprinkling of graphite powder, just to give me a lighter area in the sky. And now with a piece of folded kitchen paper, just nice gentle circular motions, just to blend it all in nice and softly and fade it down towards the left hand corner there. Okay, so now with the Derwent pen eraser, I'm just literally erasing out the shapes of the clouds. Just darkening up some of the sky areas here and there with the 2H pencil. And then just gently blending in with a cotton swab to get a nice even fade between the light and the dark areas, and also just softening off some of the cloud edges as well. A few dabs here and there with the kneadable eraser just to clean things up a little bit. Okay, so the background trees, they were drawn in using a 2B pencil, just literally shading and drawing all in one go. There's not much detail there in the background at all, so it's blended in with the blending stump. I just pull a little bit of graphite down into the field area, and that'll give me all the tone I need make it look like it's nice and sort of faded and way off into the distance. Still with a 2B pencil, just starting to draw in these trees in the middle distance now. Just a little bit darker, just a little bit of texture, just little circular motions. Don't want too much detail there, so that's kind of blended in fairly soft as well. And then I go in with the pencil eraser and just pull out a few highlights just here and there. And the same again for this section of field. It's just the graphite that's on the end of the blender, just gently smeared over the paper just to put a light layer of tone. That's really all that's needed. You can vary the pressure a little bit and get sort of lighter and darker areas with the blending stump, and it keeps it nice and soft as well. Similar technique with these trees. I'm just kind of blocking in with the graphite that's on the blending stump, just erasing out a few areas, a few highlights here and there, just to start the form and the shape of the tree. And I pretty much work my way along doing the same method until we get to the larger section of trees at the back of the houses, or the buildings should I say. I use the 4B mechanical pencil to get some of the darker tones and the texture of the foliage. Okay, there looks like a big skip in the video there, which there obviously is. Like I said, there'll be a real-time video of a section of the foliage on my Patreon account. But very briefly, what I'm doing is, with a 2H pencil, little circular motions. I'm not completely filling in the area, I'm leaving like little gaps in between the pencil strokes, so I get sort of little light areas, little dark areas, and it just starts to build up the texture a little bit. I'll just generally work in that way and kind of block in a few squares at a time. Then I blend them in with the blender. It's a sort of nice soft effect. I don't completely blend the whole area. It's kind of a hit and miss type thing, so I leave some areas with a little bit more texture and some areas a little softer, and it all adds to that nice effect of foliage. And then again with a 4B pencil, I go in and I start drawing in the darker areas and adding more detail until it's done. Now this tree on the right hand side, I decided to use some artistic license and not copy what was in the photograph. I thought it was a little bit too heavy, a little bit too sharp looking, the tree that was in the photograph, so I thought I'll just kind of make something up and keep it sort of harmonious with the background trees and the rest of the picture. I'm still basically using the same technique as what I used for the background trees, but I'm just adding a little bit more contrast, a little bit darker, some of the highlights are a little bit lighter, just so it makes it stand forward just that little bit more. I use the same technique for these foreground bushes as well, but obviously, you know, again, it's down to the contrast and the amount of detail. I'm obviously increasing that slightly, you know, as the foliage comes more forward in the picture. I'm just shading in the top part of that shed roof there. This is kind of negative drawing technique. I'm actually drawing round the shape of the foliage that's in front of it, so I get a nice sort of bushy edge to that bush that's right in front of the shed there. Then I use a 2H pencil just to go in and just match the tones in with the rest of the bush. Okay, I use the HB pencil to draw in that tree trunk. some nice fine branch details with a mechanical pencil. Okay, I'm not covering that area up because I made a mistake. No, that's just there just to rest my hand on so I don't smudge the graphite underneath. Okay, so I'm using the HB pencil, mechanical pencil. It's ideal for this sort of job, for doing window frames and fine detail. And I'm using the 4H pencil now just to put an initial tone, if you like, in the panes of glass. Then I go back in with the HB pencil and just darken off the odd one here and there, just so I've got some nice variation in the windows. Saves it from looking flat. You know, if you do it all one tone, it can look a little bit flat. You know, so even if in the picture it kind of all looks black, just vary them a little bit. It'll look a lot nicer. So for the aging on the building, you know, those kind of watermarks and stains and things like that, just using the blending stump, the graphite that's on it, just kind of smearing it here and there, just to give that sort of aged character look to the building. Keeping it a little bit darker under the eaves as well, at the top, just under the roof. And just generally just kind of playing around with that until I get the look that I want. Very simple, very easy that is. And now for the roof of the building on the right hand side, just a 2H pencil shading in the direction of the slope of the roof, and varying the pressure so I'll get some sort of light lines, dark lines, and that sort of starts off the process of like the tiled effect, if you like, on the roof. Then I use an HB pencil to sort of add darker spots here and there, just to give the impression that there might be some moss or darker areas or something on the roof. I also use the HB pencil for the roof line at the bottom. It's always darker along the eaves there on the bottom of the roof. I use the HB pencil for the tops of the windows, and then again shaded them in with the 4H pencil, and then varied the tone a little bit with the 2H pencil. And now the buildings are complete. I can actually draw that foreground tree in that sits in front of the house. That was just a 2H pencil, just to lightly put in a little bit of foliage there. And now with the 2B pencil, I'm starting on the reflections. Just gentle sort of horizontal strokes, just for a nice kind of even layer of graphite just to start with, and then gently blending in with a Q-tip or cotton swab. I never know what to call them. They're called different things in different countries, aren't they? Now with the 4B pencil, I put the darker tones in, and again blend them in. And I'm just putting a very light line just to indicate where that building is going to reflect in the water. And then just sort of gently shading up to it, and again blending in all the time. And with the fine eraser, I'm just pulling out a few reflections of some of the grasses and bushes that are on the riverbank there. Again, just sort of horizontal eraser strokes, and just kind of pulling them down at the same time. Nice and gentle. We're not trying to get back to clean white paper. We just want to sort of skim the surface of the graphite just to remove as little as possible and just lighten the area just slightly, and then a gentle blend over, and that should look like a fairly convincing reflection. And now with a 2H pencil, I'm trying to get the effect that there's kind of rocks and stones underneath the water surface there. I can just kind of make them out in the photo, only in that area there, in that darker area. So I'm just kind of drawing a few shapes in, a few sort of impressionistic shadows, just to sort of give that illusion that there might be a few stones and rocks under the surface of the water. 2H pencil again for the grass. Now this grass, it isn't like regular sort of spiky grass. It's got wild flowers and weeds and all kinds of stuff growing in it. So what I'm doing, I'm using the 2H pencil, sometimes with like little grass strokes, and then particularly in the foreground I'm using that kind of circular motion again, which I use for the foliage, that can kind of give a nice sort of impression that we've got a lot of kind of busy, you know, kind of rough stuff going on there, plants and weeds, and it's all kind of rough and entangled. And I'm kind of varying the pressure a little bit with the 2H pencil as well, so I get lighter areas, darker areas, and I just generally fill that area in without it trying to look like anything initially. I know I've got to kind of work at this a little bit and kind of slowly build this up. It's very hard just to put down a layer of graphite on that and make it look convincing in one go. So it does need to be worked out a little bit. And as you can see there, I'm going in with the HB pencil and starting to add some of the darker tones in there, just to give a bit of shape and a little bit of form to that bank. But it's almost a process that I just keep repeating over and over again, you know, that kind of circular motions, maybe a little bit of blending here and there. Then I go in with the fine eraser, pull out a few little spots, go back in with the darker pencil, create a few darker areas. This is one of those things that I always find very hard to teach, because I always think, you know, some things can't be taught, but they can be learnt, you know, if that makes sense. It's very hard to actually say what you do, and you kind of have to just kind of feel your way along a little bit with the picture. And this is where your creativity really takes over. You're kind of looking at it thinking, yeah, that area looks good there, you know, that dark area there could be a nice shaded part at the back of that grass area, and if I put a few highlights there, that should make it look better. You know, it's really hard to actually explain what you do. You just kind of go with the flow and go with the opportunities, and just keep referring to the reference photo and just, you know, generally copying it as best as you can, and eventually you should get something, you know, that kind of simulates grass. Well, not just grass, but, you know, that kind of wild flowers and weeds and things like that all growing together. So right, we're on the home run, the final few squares. I'm just going to use the 2B pencil again, like I did on the left hand side of the river, just for an initial lay down of graphite, and then that's kind of blended in and smoothed over. And now I'm using the 4B pencil to put the darker tones in, and again blending it out, keeping it nice and soft and smooth to give that nice soft sort of illusion of reflections. A few sort of horizontal lines just erased with the fine eraser can suggest a few nice ripples, which look nice. And there we go, that's a finished drawing. So thanks very much for viewing. Take care everybody, and I'll see you next time. Bye for now.